Thank you guys, everybody, for joining us this evening. And then I want to thank everybody that's participated in the plant forum tonight. Beryl, Bob, Charlotte, Connie, myself, Josh, Judy, Kristen, and Saxon. Charlotte, I saw you were here. Are you ready to share?
This is the second cymbidium to open. I've got several more in bud, waiting for them to open. And I'm not sure which tillandsia this is, but it's been in this kind of bud, and then the little bits of purple have just kind of started showing until we started getting cold weather. So I don't know what's going to happen now. But anyway, it just looked really pretty.
Tillandsia is gorgeous.
And it's hanging up with a staghorn fern.
It looked like another bromeliad there too, yes? Is that?
Down below? Yeah, I think that one is a Tillandsia somiensis, or something like that. I think I originally got those from Ted Kipping.
Yeah, I have some of that from Ted as well.
And the Lapageria was kind of hiding. I was kind of watering, and then I go, oh, look, there's a blossom. And the iris, somebody gave me some pieces, just to put in the garden. And then the iris cristata I got from Nancy Schramm quite a few years ago. So just things kind of popping up and blooming in the garden.
The little iris angularis is really cute.
It is, yeah.
I just got some new ones. This grows in my garden in Danville with no water at all in the summer, and it stays evergreen.
That iris?
Iris anglicularis, yes. So I picked up a few at the very expensive Plant Delights because it's very hard to find them. And actually, the Roger Raish has a white one. But I think they're very cool, and they're a great drought tolerant plant, and we should be, I mean, that's for Saxon. I know you're here, Saxon. That's for you to know. It grows bone dry, no water in the summer, no water when it hasn't had water since the last rain.
Especially if it's evergreen, that's unusual.
Yeah, no, I had a big clump that I had in a watered garden, and I thought I always like to try stuff out. And I stuck it. It didn't grow, obviously, while it was, in the dry period, but it came back and it bloomed.
Did yours bloom particularly well this year, Kristen?
No, not this year. Not even the one in the garden bloomed well this year.
Mine were gangbusters, and I thought it was from the rain maybe in October.
Yeah, I mean,
mine are blooming like crazy in San Francisco, and I've never seen them bloom so heavily.
Well, maybe I should go out and look again. I've been a little preoccupied.
Do you have yours in sun or shade, Kristen?
Well, both.
Both.
I'm playing around with them now because I have a deer problem, which I didn't used to have, and irises don't get eaten by deer. So I'm looking to change my garden over to a few more irises just to have that spring color without the damage.
Ruth Bancroft had a large collection of iris, but anglicularis, that I think she had it in full sun, and I think you would get a bit of water, but not much.
Well,
had all color forms, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, but she watered. I know she watered.
Probably true.
Yeah, she had water.
Iris unguiculata doesn't need any water. I mean, I've grown it many times with zero, and it also grew at my grandparents' house in Hollister on their ranch with no care whatsoever. But Kristen, one caution about deer and irises. A lot of times the deer will not eat iris plants, but they'll eat the flowers.
Well, I already gave you all Jan Hamby's recipe, and as soon as I begin to see the deer out there, I get my egg and milk and oil out and make my mix up, and it works to some degree. And Jan was able to keep her irises going gangbusters by doing that. She had some of the new hybrid, the reblooming hybrids. She had an apricot colored one, which blew my mind, and it bloomed all the time for her. So, and the deer never hit it because she was really good about spraying that stuff.
So does yours do better in the sun or the shade, Kristen?
It blooms better in the sun.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Charlotte.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of times
else?
too, the other thing to know about unguicularis is that the flowers are always way down. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times people cut the foliage in fall because it's winter blooming, and late fall, like November, December, and so that you can see the flowers without having all the leaves going through them. I mean, Charlotte's picture shows almost no foliage there at all, which isn't common naturally.
The snails also are not on them as much if you cut the foliage back, I've discovered.
Yep.
As soon as it starts blooming, I cut mine back.
Ah,
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
And they're very fragrant, by the way,
yes.
which you don't know because they're so far down there. And at my age, you don't bend over like you used to and smell.
Well, if you got plenty of them, you cut a couple and then you can put them up to your nose.
Yes, you get a nice little vase and put them in. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for all those tips on the iris. That's cool. Okay. So I fell in love with this little leucadendron a couple years ago at Ruth Bancroft Garden. They have a nice full one. And I had to wait a couple of years before I found out that it was, or found it available to buy. And it is blooming right now. And I just love it. I have it in a pot. It's leucadendron, so it likes good drainage and such. And then I have my aloe plicatillus ready and it's starting to bloom as well. It's a cutie. I'll just let you know.
Very pretty combination.
Yeah, with the oranges and the, yeah.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. Looks joyous.
Okay. This is my ad for everybody to get out. The flowers are calling and I must go. You must go if you want to, whatever. But I've been to Black Diamond Mines 3 times this last week, and it is incredible shows. They have chaparral and hills and grasslands and such, and just really a nice show. So and I hear it's been a pretty good year for most places. So if you get a chance, go see the natural gardens. They're just really doing their thing right now.
Is that upper right photo right now? The poppies
Yep.
and lupins?
That was Sunday
Where?
on these are all at Black Diamond Mines.
Oh,
And they had dendromecan, which I didn't realize grew up there. And the underneath the manzanitas are carpeted with the pedicularis, the Indian warrior or Indian plume, I think it's called now.
Warrior's plume.
Warrior's plume, thank you. And the saxifraga in the middle there, and the bush, 3 types of lupin. They have the bush lupin, which I'm not sure of the species, and then succulentus, and then bicolor, and then something I hadn't really seen before, I don't think up here anyway, is the scarlet bugler, the Penstemon centranthifolius. That's right, something like that. And then red
Maids.
which I hadn't really seen in that big you see the pink of the flowers on the hills, because usually I just see them in the middle of a trail that's kind of crunched down. Only place they can survive without all without all the grasses covering them up. And then fields of hillsides of the white dendromecan, the shooting star, and the yellow and the pink one. And then lots and lots and lots of big fat owl's clover as well.
Is it heavy hiking or is it kind of gentle hiking?
It's pretty gentle if you go it's hills a little bit, so there is slopes, but if you go up the Riverview Trail, you can get up to what's it called, the Lark Trail, which is where the far right one is from, but you have to go down a gentle but long slope down to that, and you have to, of course, hike your way out of that. But if you take it slow, you're distracted the whole way, we'll put it that way. So it's not bad.
It looks extremely distracting.
Yes, yes, it is. Very much so, but it's definitely well worth a trip down there if, or trip over there. So anyway, but, you know,
Your photos are great too, Ellen.
Yeah.
well, I took 1.5 million because
Beautiful.
Well,
Oh,
did you do with your phone?
most of those are from my phone. Yeah, some of them I have my little snap it one as well, but I think most of those were with my phone.
It's amazing what the phone can do. It makes all of us look like much better photographers than we actually are.
Definitely.
I'm just stunned.
But if anybody has any other wildflower hotspots, put it in the chat so we can all go and visit them.
Cool. Can I make a plug for the phone also for watching these meetings? It's I was able to open up each one of those little pictures full size by pinching it open. Very cool.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm.
And then Bart, I have a question for you. I saw this down with the salixes down by the creek bed. And then I saw this one with the red catkins, and I don't know if that's a different type of salix or if it was an alder or.
Actually, I think that's populous. Looking at those stems, it's not a willow.
It's a poplar?
Yeah,
Really?
It
yeah,
wasn't very big. Okay.
yeah, just a smaller one.
It was definitely a little bit more upright than the salix, but interesting. Okay. I saw that and I go, wow, that's neat. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. Bob, are you there? I saw you earlier on.
Yeah, I'm here. So this is the history of a gasolarian in our yard. It was planted about, I don't know when, maybe 20, 25 years ago. And it was just a kind of a spiky sphere that was really neat because when the wind blew it was very kinetic and the sun shone through it. And it slowly got bigger and bigger and bigger. And in December, I thought, oh, maybe it's suffering from not having enough. I don't remember when the rain came. This was before the rain. I was thinking maybe it was a little dry. And then I noticed it wasn't a little dry, it was just changing. And about a few weeks later, that flower spike came up. And as of a couple days ago, that's what it looks like. So I don't know how it's going to proceed, but I'm watching it to see what happens.
We'll want an update next month. Okay.
Dazzlerians don't die after they bloom, though, I don't think, do they?
That's what I read.
They
Actually,
do
I was sort of
die?
sad to see it blooming because it was such a nice sphere, sort of a kinetic sphere. And now it's kind
That's
of,
the Chondriculum. Okay, that's the one that has the thinner foliage and you touch it and it's almost like a physics experiment.
yeah, it's very sharp. I'm not sure which one. And I read a description and it's a little, I think they've been they were linked to, they were combined and they were separated. So I don't know, but you can tell, I read from the form of the flower spike, but I think one is wider at the base and one is wider in the middle. And this flower spike seems to be wider nowhere. So I don't know what it is.
And it doesn't, you said it doesn't die when it flowers.
That's what I've read. I hope not.
Yeah, I would hope not as well. Thank you for sharing that. That's really cool.
Yep.
Okay, Josh.
Maybe he's late.
Okay, or does somebody else want to go through the?
I've grown the Edgeworthia out here. Actually, I found it did better on top of a mounded garden. Mine and the garden died, but I think it just had too much competition. It likes space. And it is very pretty and it does bloom and it's fragrant. That's all I can tell you.
And it blooms before its leaves come back on.
Yeah, it's real nice. And the one I had, it was in Diablo that I planted for a client and that one was massive. And the
How big? Massive is it? How big?
it was about 5 feet in diameter spread.
Oh, okay.
But then the new owner came in and tore it out because she didn't like it.
I wouldn't think it'd be very drought tolerant though.
This garden did get water, but no, once a plant gets established, I think it does handle the drought. I mean, all my camellias are really fine and I have,
Yeah, camellias. Yeah.
yeah. And then, I mean, I've seen camellias survive out here and I'm talking japonicas without any water in the summer.
Yeah, I don't water mine at all.
Yeah, so those are good. And a number of the magnolias, I think, do really well with very little water once they're established. It's all about establishing.
Okay, so these were all at the Botanic Gardens is Striving, and they're known for their magnolia collection, which it's probably pretty prime right at the moment. Whoops, wrong
If you
way.
haven't taken a sniff of that Edgewardia, please go up and take a sniff. It's a wonderful fragrance and
Yeah.
very fragrant.
It's on par with Daphne, I think.
I'd agree.
I was at Striving for much of the day today, and the magnolias were absolutely magnificent. Because we've had no rain, they haven't turned to mush like they usually do. The earliest Campbellites have finished, but Striving White and Late Pink are in full, just magnificent bloom. And a number of other magnolias that I didn't even know Striving had. It's really an exceptional collection.
Nice. So these are just a few to tease you to go and visit. Okay, Saxon.
I just went and grabbed photos with my iPhone on Sunday just because I'm always amazed how much goes on in the wintertime. In the upper left is that's Camellia tulip time that I just love the shape of it. I think it's a Williamsonii cross. In the lower left, that's my Sesanqua Kenjiro. No, that's Yuletide. The red one is Yuletide. And as others have said, I'm just so amazed how tough the camellias are. They don't need much summer water. I do mulch them pretty heavily, but they do great. And then my Magnolia campbellii is still blooming. Some of the you can see there, some of the flowers have shattered, but it's still going on. It's been going on for 4 or 5 weeks now, so it's been really nice to have that, and that's sort of my signature front yard piece. And we can keep going unless people have questions.
I do. So that's Camellia tulip time,
Yeah,
and then Yuletide.
Yuletide. Yeah, because it's a
And
Sankwood. Yeah,
Oh, Sasanqua. Okay.
Do you have
Yeah.
this one in the ground, Saxon?
yeah. I have everything's in the ground.
I can't get Yuletide to make it in the ground. I've got other oh, come on, Sasanquas in the ground that are going gangbusters, but not this one.
Yeah. No, this one actually is in decline. Well, in this year it looks like it's in decline. It's right next to I have Kenjiro, one called Yuletide. This is Yuletide. Apple Blossom. They all look pretty good. The S one I think is getting competition from ginkgo tree that's next to, but it's been it blooms from late October until early March. So it's I'm so amazed. I think I told a lot of people when I did the book, people on a lecture tour, people would ask me the most surprising plant we included in it for the summer dry climate, and Camellia Sesanqua, because it's the hottest part of my driveway, and just amazed. And I just realized it's because they flower in the winter when it's wet. Hopefully it's wet, but they sit there quietly in the summer. They don't grow much in the summer, but they take the heat, and so I mulch them quite heavily, but I'm pretty pleased with them.
What kind of soil are you
growing them in?
I'm sorry?
What kind of soil are you growing them in?
Well, my native soil is clay.
Yes, I know that, but is it just growing in your native soil?
Well, no, I've been here for 20 some years, so I amend it. I get a composted mulch from the Nicasio compost people. It's really great. It's great mulch, and so I do that every 3 years heavily, and off years I put a few shovelfuls in. But so the soil no longer is really clay, and once you get down about 10 or 12 inches, anyway, it's really loamy at this point.
Okay. And the magnolia was Campbellii, you said, yes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I have that's the Safari Sunset, that leucodendron, which is just sitting by my office. I ignored it for years and suddenly decided it wanted to do fine. The quince came with the property. I just love it. I don't do anything to it. We prune a few branches every year to bring into the house, but it just keeps flowering. That's a beautiful peach color, and it's just it's hard. I sometimes we forget, these easy plants, this, they're in the garden. And for this time of year to bring a branch in is just wonderful. You can bring them in before they actually flower. And it's just, I don't know. I keep telling myself I'll plant more of them, but this one just keeps going fine.
Those are just such a nice splash of color, and that kind of peachy, pinky reddish is just such a great color to offset some of the plain home background colors. I've seen it against a house and a couple different colors of houses, and it's just amazing color.
Yeah, no, this one, it came with the property, and I just haven't done anything to it. It's in I have a lot of native plants around it. In fact, if we go forward, I'm going to ask Bart about one of the pictures I'm showing. Oh, these are in the front. I have I have a daffodil meadow, so I have dozens and dozens of daffodils. In the bottom, that's a tazetta called Avalanche. In the right, that's a species, that's Jonquilla. And in the left, there's just some, I think that's Leucojum gravity's giant. In the left, I was surprised when Ellen said, go take some pictures. It's been blooming great for about a month, and it's on its tail end, but it still looks pretty good. I'll mention for those of you who have garden envy, last week I was at the Northwest Garden Show and went out to see Dan Hinckley's place at Wincliffe, and he has an amazing leucojum collection, just doubles and petticoat ones, and they're all in full bloom. I've been trying to put a bulb meadow at my place, and I was immediately said I maybe better not try. What he does apparently he says no effort, but of course it's a lot of effort, but they're great plants. They're so easy, and so I'm happy to have them.
I would like to chime in on the bulbs. I made a decision that I was tired of weeding. And so over the years, I've been putting all the bulb divisions into my dry areas. So at least I didn't have to weed them.
Yeah.
And this year, I have a gardener now helping me. And it's amazing how fast the weeding is going and how few weeds go into the green container now. We were just remarking on it today. It's almost and when you have the bulbs, they collapse, and if you can accept the foliage being on the ground, it acts as a mulch, and it also acts as a weed preventer. And then by the time the spring comes, it all comes up, and it looks kind of even with the foliage once it collapses. So it's good weed control.
Well, I'm sure many of you remember Wayne Roderick, and he had a bulb meadow that inspired me to 12 months of bulbs, it's possible. And so, as you say, once they die, the leaves just cover the ground. I mean, I don't find an objection at all. My only addition to what Wayne did, I like to have a few grasses, in there. I love grasses, so I have to have if it's going to be a meadow, you can't have a meadow without grasses.
Right.
But anyway, no, he was such an inspiration. About 12 months of bulbs that I'm trying to do a little bit, and many of you know Lefteris Darius in Greece, and he's now shipping bulbs, little tiny ones. So I've started adding his to they're still too little to plant in the garden yet, but I'm eager to see what happens with that. Just 5 or 6 different gladiolas and tritonias, and anyway, we'll see. Maybe in 2 or 3 years I'll be sharing more bulbs. And then this is a mixture in the, these are all natives. In the upper left is behind my house. We have a couple acres. So the milkmaids have just been going gangbusters. So I just wanted to, as Ellen said earlier, we should go out in the wild and see what's going on. And I'm lucky that I don't have to go far. I can go out in my backyard and see those are the milkmaids. Lower left, that's the Sonoglossum, the hound's tongue, which are just starting to. It's like the first one in my yard. The other 3, 2, 3, and 5 are in my garden. The 2 is I have a hedge. My hedgerow in the front is half manzanita and half camellias, which I intentionally put together just to see what would happen. And I'm amazed that both the manzanitas and the camellias all look great. Ribes sanguineum are starting to bloom. That's the very first one. And number 5, that's the Ray Hartman that Bart, you may remember, in my backyard was really big, maybe 3-inch, diameter, and I asked what to do about it. Well, I had to cut it down so big. I was shading it so much, really huge. And I remember you saying, well, you better start over because you can't really cut it back. And the general advice, I think, is not to cut back more than a pencil diameter as far as heading it back. I cut this sucker back out to the ground. I mean, to about 4 feet off the ground with 3-inch, say, branches that for a year did nothing. And now they're all putting out these long, skinny branches, which I'll have to thin out because there are way too many. But I'll be able to keep it at 6 or 7 feet instead of 12 feet. So I'm pleased that that's going to work.
Good. Judy.
Okay, so this is bulbs, which I'm quite fond of. This is, let me see, where's my notes here? This is Babiana pygmalia, and it's in the genus Iridaceae. It is a bulb from the southwest Cape of South Africa, blooms February to March, and it is a deciduous bulb winter grower and drought tolerant, tolerates down to 25 degrees. And like most Babiana, they have contractile roots, which means they tend to pull the bulbs to the bottom of the pot. So a deeper bulb would be better. So I'm probably going to put it in a deeper bulb next year. It's got these large yellow flowers in this purple brown center, which is really pretty. It is kind of pygmy. It grows to about 4 inches tall. And it evidently, according to the Pacific Bulb Society, it's a rare plant in South Africa now, I guess, because of development and things like that. But I just wanted to let folks know, Ellen and I both received these bulbs last June, and she had a tag on hers that said it was a Certanthus sanguineus. And we were both surprised to see the Babiana-like leaves, and then a flower that clearly was not sanguineous or red. So, we're both happy with it, though. It's a dwarf Babiana, and although it's not noted as fragrant, I get a faint sense of sweetness, kind of honeysuckle when I smell it. So I don't know what it is because it's not supposed to have a fragrance, but it's fun.
Anything.
Pardon?
I didn't smell anything
Okay.
on mine.
All right.
The Centranthus, I think, foliage in there as well.
Ah.
Let's
Where'd
see.
you get it?
Oh, you know what? A gentleman shared some bulbs with us. We were on a bulb kind of chase, and he had extra bulbs. His name is actually Robert Parks. I don't know if you know him or not. He lives in the city.
We'll be speaking in Western Hort next month, right?
No, that's Kip.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that Babiana is a very nice species. I've been growing up for quite a number of years and always flowers reliably. The flowers are big.
They are
3 inches across.
Mhm.
And again, as Judy said, it's quite a small plant. I find the flowers don't last a long time, but they really make a big showy effect.
Yeah, and they just kind of sequentially bloom. So ones that are dying down, then new ones bloom. Where did you get your bulbs, Bart?
From a friend in LA.
Okay.
Who had a lot of extra bulbs and sent them up here, and then I shared them here at the Botanic Garden with other staff.
All right. And then some more bulbs in bloom. The warm weather we had last week, it really kind of triggered a lot of blooms, but I had this Morea tripetala, and this is interesting. I spent some time looking at this. Let's see, there are 220 species of Morea. 120 of them grow in the Cape of South Africa. And in 2012, I believe it is, they divided the Morea group into 5 groups. And this is in one, the Morea tripetala. They grows in the Western Cape of Africa. It's a perennial bulb. It grows from 8 to 18 inches. And you can see it has that, it has solitary leaves, just one leaf. I have a whole pot full, and it's got lots of leaves, but every stalk only has one leaf. And then it has, if you can see that triangular kind of yellow nectar guides right at the, on the petals there. They divided actually the group, let's see, Goldblatt and Manning in 2012. They divided into 9 species and 3 varieties. And this one seems closest to the Morea tripetala subspecies Violaceae. And the things that differentiate them are things like smaller missing inner tepals, differences in the nectar guides, of the leaf anatomy and the length and the number of leaves, the corm anatomy, and the size and shape of flower parts. But it's bloomed reliably for me. It needs sun. It is a winter grower and rated by a Morea grower as 4 out of 4 for ease of growing. And it is pretty easy to grow. This is the best bloom I've had since I've had this plant since 2018. I have 9 bloom stalks, and I'm attributing it to the early drench of the October rains, and I did fertilize this year. So the other 2 I just put in just because they're both Lacanalias, but you can see the hybrid Namaqua has like almost 2-tone, whereas the true Lacanalia quadricolor really does have 4 colors. If you look at it, it starts kind of that rosy coral, and then you got the yellow, and then you have the green. I think they're called gibbosities, and then the tips are kind of that nice, I guess you'd call it a magenta or whatever. But again, this is a family of Lacanalia, of which there are 133 species, and it grows in Namibia and South Africa. And the one on the right, the quadricolor, used to be called Lacanalia aloides, and it got elevated to its very own species in 2012. So now it's considered a species. Nothing much other than that. The one on the left is a hybrid, and you can see they're very similar, but the color differentiation is what stands them apart. Any questions?
Yes, where did you
Striking.
find that hybrid?
You know, I got it through, I think it was Zimmerman. What is that bulb purveyor?
Hmm,
Something in Zimmerman.
okay.
Yeah.
McClure and Zimmerman.
Yeah, thank you, McClure and Zimmerman. And I got it probably 6 or 7 years ago. And I have to tell you, that is the most prolific thing. I started out with 6 bulbs. By the time that it bloomed the first year, I had 12 bulbs. So I had divided into 2 pots. And then it seems like every year it doubles. So it's very vigorous.
Sounds like Bart doesn't have that one.
Ah, and this is not the same as, yeah, this is not the same as Namaquensis. Namaquensis. So it's not the same. This is a hybrid. So
Right.
anyway.
Do
All
you
right.
find them volunteering in other pots?
No, it stays in its pot, but I mean, and then I just divide the pot just because you can see it's pretty full now again. So I'll probably have to divide again.
Thank you, Judy.
Mhm.
Connie, are you still with us?
Yes,
You talk about your calla lily?
Yeah, or canna. It's a canna, not a calla.
it's a
Oh, you're
canna.
right.
The
I think that was
canna.
me.
I'm sure I said canna when I wrote it. The canna has never bloomed this early. Usually it's, mid to late summer. And I guess it was the heat wave last week. It's, the flower hasn't quite opened yet. I was hoping it might open today and I could get another picture, but it's still about the same as this picture. And it's at least 6 feet tall.
Do you usually cut it
And-
back during the?
And then, yeah, I cut it, after it blooms, I usually cut it back, and all of the other stalks are cut way back. But this one grew back really fast, and all of a sudden it had a flower.
It's amazing what those rains did.
And then it wasn't the rain, I think it was the heat.
Mm.
Because it was 70 degrees last week.
And then your grape hyacinth.
And then the grape hyacinths are coming up all over.
That's always such a cheerful little bulb.
Right. No, they're very, very dependable.
Got the Helleborus.
The Lenten rose I got at Philoli a year ago. And then the arum lily usually comes up at this time. Usually it's very, very early spring. And they've been proliferating. I'm not sure how they spread, but they've gone from one side of the garden all the way diagonally across to the other side.
And how fragrant are they?
They're not. They don't stink.
Oh, okay.
This isn't like the what do you call the other one, but these don't seem to have any fragrance at all.
And evidently
It's a very, very weird flower.
it is an interesting flower. Evidently it's poisonous if it's eaten fresh, but if it's prepared correctly, it's been used for food and medicine in the Mid-East quite a bit. Thank you, Connie, for sharing. And Beryl talk. So I'm sharing this of Beryl's. Beryl used to have a, I guess twice a Japanese maple in this little part of her garden, and she's looking for another one, but she decided to put this in and has trained it up as a standard with 1 liter, and it's just gorgeous with all those dangling tassels of flowers. And this is one of the native Ribes sanguineum. Claremont, is this one of your guys' selections, Bart, from Rancho Santa Ana?
It is from Rancho Santa Ana, but way before, it goes all the way back to the first year of Rancho, 1927. It was the original seed that later gave rise to this cultivar was collected from Monterey Peninsula.
Oh, I'll be darned. Well, evidently Beryl knew it was a fast grower, and I think she said it was 3 years old. I might be wrong there, but
yeah, they typically are. Our Claremont is especially vigorous and large and free flowering. I mean, it's really quite a wonderful plant.
Beautiful. Does it fruit?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really
typical Ribes blue-black sort of fruit.
probably a good bird attractor, I would think.
Yes, birds usually eat them all.
She also has a Sinistio here in the blue toward the bottom, and a Euphorbia martinii, and evidently Louisia that she says has been flowering despite no direct sun since fall. That's interesting. Thank you, Beryl, for sharing. Kristen, you have an interesting mallow here.
I'm friends with Archie, and Archie, oh, he has this way of getting seed out of different parts of the world, and got seed of the Guaychinodia. The other one wasn't letifolia. The letifolia is the one on the left, and now I've forgotten. Macrantha, I believe, is the one on the right in my garden. So Archie gave me Macrantha, which is the right hand. My hand is holding the flower. And then he sent me the photograph of the one on the left, which is the letifolia. And he wanted to see how it would do in Danville because we're really hot here. But these grow in very rocky areas. And if you've ever been to Archie's, and he was a member, he didn't renew because he doesn't like the Zoom meetings, but if we have a meeting in person, he'll be back. But he created a completely rocky bed in Vallejo, and I don't have that. I have very clay soils. So what I did, and I don't have pictures of it anymore because I lost my phone and all my pictures, which is fine. I'm not sad about it at all. Don't have to make any more decisions. But I made a soil mix, which isn't really a soil mix per se, out of clay pot shards, basalt, and not crushed granite, but it's pieces of granite. I went to American Soil and got it all, and my gardener was having fun. We dug a giant hole and planted this, and then I did the same thing in pots. And this is the one that is planted in the ground on the right-hand side. And you can see some of the basalt down there. And I mean, if you saw clay pot shards I love clay pots, they break, and I save the shards now to do stuff like this. Whoever buys this property when I die is going to go crazy with, why did she do that? But at any rate, it turns out I misunderstood. They like to be in the shade, and mine gets quite a bit of sun, but they're supposed to be extremely drowsy once established. The one I have in the pot is in the sun on the north side of my patio, north side of my house, and it gets a lot of cold weather. And Archie thought I might have killed it, but I showed him I sent him a picture, but I'm not showing it to you guys because I can be vicious to plants. But it's greening up again and pinking up. So I'm trying it both in pot and in the ground. And I just thought it was cool. They say the description was from Australia, and they say it starts blooming in May, which would be the equivalent of our blooming in November, obviously, since we're on the other side of the world.
But it's blooming now.
Yes. I took this picture yesterday.
And yours is macranthus. Archie's is the ledifolia.
Right.
Okay, I'll correct that too.
But Archie said he would give me, I'm hoping he'll grow them he's very good at growing from seed, where I keep trying. Well, I grow tomatoes really well from seed, but there are other things like these specialty plants that I hesitate.
I think UC Santa Cruz carries them.
They may, yes.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised.
I bought plants from that genus from UC Santa Cruz and brought it to Suncrest. But they never did anything with it. Or it was Rosendale and they never did anything with it.
Yeah, well, it's not that showy. I mean, you have
a couple of them, some of them are.
Yeah, I thought that Thomsone is the one that's the really large showy flower, isn't it?
Well, the flowers are outward facing. I don't know that they're that much bigger than this flower. But yeah.
We have a crop of Thompsonia at San Marcos growers, and I'm not very impressed with it. The flowers are kind of ho-hum.
Yeah, no, the Australia, they have some unbelievable hibiscus in Australia, which I actually did see. I know a woman there, and I went to visit her when I was there last, and she's been hybridizing them, and they're just amazing. There's not just heterophila, there's just tons of other ones, but and they're big. They're like 3 to 4 inches across. But these other little Western ones are more like our sphaeralsias, but our sphaeralsias are orange and therefore much showier. These are all the pinky colors, which you can't see in the sun very well. But this is supposed to be grown in the shade, by the way, if I didn't say that. Dappled shade, yep.
Thank you, Kristen. Okay, Saxon.
Well, I just wanted folks to know that the American Gardener magazine, which is the magazine of the American Horticultural Society, has an article on robin this quarter, I guess. So it's interesting for me because I've known Robin as a dear friend really for many, many years, and I know her hardy geraniums, and I knew she grew pelargoniums at her nursery in Richmond, but I never had visited, and so it's really pretty stunning. If any of you have ever visited Robin's nursery in Richmond, she's planted out, 100 yards of the pelargoniums in these decrepit old greenhouses there that have survived until apparently last winter the landlord cut them down. But anyway, for those of us who like Robin, she reluctantly agreed to do the story because she thought it would bring her some business, and they did a nice job of it. So it's I thought I'd let people know to look for it.
Oh, nice. Thanks for letting us know, and photographed by Saxon. That was a probably fun job to go do.
Well, I say I visited her garden several times over the years. I helped her on her hardy geranium book, but I never had an excuse to go visit the greenhouses in Richmond. It was really it was like a kid in a candy shop. There are hundreds of just amazing pelargoniums there. She's collected quite a collection, as you can imagine. Robin is, owns Geranaceae Nursery, and she's, I think, the expert, perhaps one or two experts in the world of Geranaceae.
We'll have to look that up. Thanks, Saxon. And then our speaker from July. Kristen, you want to go ahead and introduce?
Yeah, so she had talked about doing this book. In fact, I have my yoga teacher was a book packager, and she didn't know how to go about doing it. And then I think Panayotis Colitis, the guy from Denver, helped her find someone to help her write the book. It is the only book on flora of Armenia, and many of you were shocked at how many different plants there are. And I think there are over 1,200 entries. I was going to remember that number, but of course I didn't. But she organizes it in a really interesting way by genera and alphabetically. It would be my style. I know people like to talk about areas, but she's more like me. I'm like to be in the alphabet myself. At any rate, the pictures are some of the pictures we actually saw. And I just thought some of you would be interested in the book. It's not cheap, but you know, there is no other book on Armenia. And what I seem to recall, there are 14 different climate zones. So it's, as Bart said, and I don't know if he's still here, is there anybody who sells seed? And she said no, which will make you all just wish that, you know.
She does do tours, and with her book, that'd be an awesome tour, I would think.
Yes. Oh, she does tours from people from mostly, her English is phenomenal, I think, but I think the people who come to her are primarily from England.
Well,
we're just
doesn't
behind.
matter, does it? We're all English speakers.
No, of course. I'm just saying, you know, you never think to go to Armenia, and right now, who knows who wants to go in that part of the world, but it's an amazing part of the world, just amazing, and we know nothing about it.
It's a little further than it for us, though, than from England.
Absolutely.
Travel-wise. So that's probably why.
Probably close to the other side of the world for us.
How much is the book?
Expensive, $76 on Amazon. Well, actually, for a book,
it's all colored pictures, though, too, isn't it?
It's all colored pictures.
Yeah, well, that's what makes it expensive.
Yeah, but it's a lightweight, soft cover book.
Oh.
Well, lightweight, that's a joke.
Okay.
But I mean, it's a heavy, soft cover book. It's not a tome that you need a book stand for.
Thanks
Well,
for
it's
that
supposed to be a
clarification.
guide, right?
Yes, she wants people to use it as a field
field
guide.
guide, yes. So-
Yeah.
But it's a heavy field guide.
That's when you go plant hunting with a car.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if you go on a tour with her, she has people who go with, I mean, I'm sure it's just a very fun tour, you know, because Armenia is not a big country. It's just an unbelievable topography. So that's where all the climate zones come from.
Okay, well, thank you for letting us know on that. Okay, so next month, if anybody wants to share, which we'd love to see all the neat things growing in you guys' gardens, or, you know, anything really plant related would be great. Our next meeting is March 21st, and if you send it before 5 on March 20th, that'd be great. And then before our meeting on March 21st, which is Ken Blackford's back. Anyway, so you're going to be continuing your what we missed last month about the amaryllids, and then you're going to add some bulbs, right?
Correct.
Great. We look forward to seeing that. Okie doke, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next month.